Hi guys, this is Jinho from Off the Lees. Today I want to talk about something fun. What kind of wine you can buy with $500 here in New York City. I live here in New York with my wife. I passed WSET level 3 last year, and now I'm studying for the diploma, which is basically level 4. So why $500? My wife gave me that budget to pick up some bottles before tariffs push prices higher. We try to be mindful about our spending in New York, balancing rent, food, savings, and all the usual things. So this was an extra splurge on top of what we normally spend. To some people, 500 bucks on wine might sound crazy, but to others, it's not even enough for a single bottle. Wherever you fall, think of this as a fun experiment to see what you can buy and where at retailers here in New York. And one quick note before we dive in, I will list all the prices before tax since sales tax changes depending on where you live, and also because it lets me cheat a little on the $500 limit. Alright, let's get into the bottles. First up is a Riesling from Stein, Palmberg Riesling, Kabinett, Trocken, Alte, Reben, 2022. This is my first time buying Stein. He's a producer in Germany who farms insanely steep vineyards in the Moselle region. On the label, you'll see three important German terms. Kabinett means it's from lighter, earlier picked grapes. Trocken means it's dry. And Alte Reben means old vines. Usually fewer grapes per vine, but more concentration in the flavor. The thing about German Riesling is that pound for pound, I think they can compete with any region in the world. And the best part is the benefit is ours because they're still relatively well priced compared to, let's say, Burgundy or Champagne. This bottle could be drunk right now, but I think it will really reward a few years of cellaring. Next, one of my favorite producers in Burgundy, Vincent Dureuil-Janthial. This is his Rouge Blanc from 2017. I'll admit I probably overpaid a little bit at $59 from Acker, since these used to be closer to $40 a few years ago. But 2017 is a great vintage for white Burgundy, and at this point, it should be in its prime drinking window. That's why I bought this bottle. I wanted something to enjoy right now. I haven't tried any of his 2017 yet, but I've had some of his other village level bottles from different vintages like 2018 and 2019, and I love them all. They have shown me that even in a less hyped appellation like Rouge, a talented producer can make wines that are excellent. And because I love this domain so much, I couldn't stop at just one bottle. I also picked up his Rouge Premier Cru Le May Cadeau from 2022. This is clearly a step up from his Village Rouge bottling. I tried his 2021 May Cadeau a few times, and they were absolutely firing on all cylinders with lots of citrus, white flowers, and racy acids. 2022 is another strong vintage for white Burgundy, so I'm going to keep this for a few years and let it evolve. It was $124 at Tribeca Wine Merchants, which is definitely more than I used to pay. The prices keep creeping up, and it is so hard to find this bottle that I think up to about $150 is still fair game for this quality. If it goes higher than that, I'll probably tap out. But I didn't want all Chardonnay, so next I wanted something red, and ideally with some age on it. This is Domaine de Croix Beaune Premier Cru Pertuisots from 2013. David Croix is one of those producers who flies under the radar, but is highly regarded among wine geeks. He used to make wines at Camille Giroux before focusing on his own domain, and he's always been known for his precision and elegance. I've had one of his younger bottles, 2020 Beaune Premier Cru Le Touvillain, and it had great concentration and potential, but it was way too young. That's why I was glad to find this 2013. The vintage was considered pretty weak when it first came out, but now with a decade of bottle age, many of the wines are showing better in their developed stage. I'll probably open this soon to see how it's drinking, and I'll share a tasting note on my Instagram after these. I paid around $95 for this at Crush Wine and Spirits, which I think is fair, especially since his most recent 2022 releases are already priced in the $110 to $120 range. Getting a Premier Cru with 10 years of age for less than that felt like a pretty smart pickup. Right, next is Pillot, a Domaine best known for their whites, but here's a red. Chassagne-Montrachet Premier Cru Clos from 2021. Most people think of Chassagne as a white wine village, but some producers like Ramonet, Bernard Moreau, Jean-Claude Bachelet, and Pillot also make excellent reds. They can be great values if you're willing to look past their reputation. 2021 was a tough year in Burgundy with frost and low yields, but the reds I've tasted so far have been surprisingly good and very accessible. This one should be good to drink now, but could also age a little. It was around $110 at Acker, and given Pillot's reputation and the Premier Cru bottling, I think it's a great buy. I've only had his whites before, which were fantastic, so I'm very excited to see how his reds compare. And finally, is champagne. This is André Jacquard's Solera Reserve Perpetual, a Blanc de Blanc Extra Brew, disgorged in April 2020. It's 100% Chardonnay from Premier Cru Vineyards. A few quick terms to unpack for those unfamiliar with champagne. Blanc de Blanc means it's made entirely from Chardonnay. Extra Brew means very little sugar added at dosage, so it's crisp and dry. Disgorged as the date the yeast sediment was removed from the bottle, so April 2020 means it's been resting on cork for a few years now. Reserve Perpetual is basically the champagne version of a Solera system, blending reserve wines from multiple vintages from 2008 to 2015 to build complexity. This wine is partly aged in oak, partly in steel, so it should be racy, mineral, and linear. Honestly, it's my first time hearing of this producer, but at $59 at Empire State of Wine, a Solera style champagne felt like a no-brainer to try. So all in all, that's $491, basically $500, and it got me 6 bottles, a mix of things to open soon, and a few I'll put aside for the future. Whether you've got $50 or $500, the point is the same. Find wines that get you excited. Not the critiques, not the experts, not anyone else, just you. I just shared what I personally bought based on my own taste, so try it out. And if your palate lines up with mine, hopefully I can share more picks you'll enjoy. And if my Asian parents ever stumble on this video, I know you'd freak out at how much I spent. But if this video somehow popped up on your screen, that probably means the channel's doing all right, so I'll call it a win. Now I want to hear from you. If you had $500 to spend on wine, what would you have bought? Would you go for a single high-end bottle? Or mix it across different wines like I did? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to see what you think. If you enjoyed this breakdown, please leave a like and subscribe. I'll keep sharing finds from New York and beyond. And maybe next time I'll actually open some of these and taste them with friends.